All right.
We live.
All right. So, yep. And here we go. Yep. There it is. Rumors and specs, guys. This is Chris and Sean. We're talking through the medias. I'm sorry. No, we just had a retooling. It's just T3 medias now. So we're cooler now. We're shortening it up. I don't feel like saying all that stuff. T3 medias. So we're gonna do. This is a quick little conversation that we were excited about.
Mm-hmm. Look in this background.
When this dropped, I mean, there was a nerdgasm or two, but I mean, Mamoa was announced to be the new Crow, and I hope it sticks because this shit has been going back and forth with all these other actors and whatnot.
Years.
And we're ready for a new Crow. As you can see, I'm a big fan. I like the comparison. If you haven't seen the YouTube trailers where they blend the Dark Knight movie, the Joker, Heath Ledger, which you see, if you can partially see, I have that poster here too, and the Crow. There's a couple of YouTube videos where they blended it. They have the Crow being replaced by Heath Ledger, and they mix up some of the dialogue and vice versa. Or they blend it into one movie. There's a bunch of trailers where the similarities between Heath Ledger's Joker and Brandon Lee's Crow it's pretty creepy. You got to check it out. It's pretty badass. But real quick, what do you think Jason Momoa is going to bring to this franchise?
Okay. So we know the dude's a big physical guy. So he's definitely going to bring the ability to ass kick on screen at least and make it look believable. Now, the thing he's not going to have is the finesse and agility maybe that Brandon Lee brought to it. This is going to be a really, really difficult movie to try to top. I'm not even going to say they're even going to come close to topping the original one because of the whole mythos surrounding the death of Brandon Lee and the fact that the movie is about a guy getting killed, and he in fact does get killed. Everything about that movie, I would say, for an action thriller movie, The Crow is as close to perfection as you can get. It's not a perfect movie for a straight up action thriller movie. The soundtrack is phenomenal. The action is well directed. The ambiance and lighting and almost the entire movie is in the dark. The fact that the main character died in real life and they were still able to finish the movie. A large percentage of this movie was not shot. And I would be a betting man to say that a lot of those scenes that you think are actually Brandon in the movie are not, in fact, Brandon in the movie.
Yeah, you're right about that. I remember that conversation on TV where they broke a lot of ground and developing that technology to put Brandon Lee's face on top of the actor that filled in some of those gaps. And the fact that they were able to pull it off almost to perfection in the mid 90s was creepy because we didn't have the tech really have the technology.
I mean, this movie looks better than a lot of movies now.
That it was done so well, but you know what, the lighting was a really good
the fact
that it was mostly in the dark. That dark helped. So
it might not look so good illuminated.
Into the light, it's like it would have looked like kind of how like on Fast and Furious, where you kind of could tell like there was something off with that last scene in the last Fast and Furious movie. But this, I'm gonna have to be a bit challenge you on that perfect action movie.
I said Die Hard. I didn't say it was perfect. I said it is close to perfection.
To perfection for action.
Well, not of all time. It's almost perfect. It's almost perfect.
There's no such thing. I say there is no such thing as a perfect.
There is no perfect, but it's almost
the closest. The champion for closest. You were able to do all that ass kicking with no shoes. That's perfect.
All right, so real quick, I'm going to defend myself here. I love Die Hard. I love all the Die Hard movies. But this
is not Die Hard talk.
This is not Die Hard. This is
I kind of took it off the subject. That's my fault. But as far as
what about the feeling you had? Do you remember the first time you saw this movie? I walked away from this movie.
Theaters or not.
I did not get to see this in the theaters. I watched it by myself in a dark room on my own TV, and I felt something when the movie ended. It stayed with me for days. I don't even know how to describe it.
We still, even to this day, all these years later, man, we quote scenes, these crazy one-liners and these awesome scenes. I mean, Fun Boy and all these characters, man, it was awesome.
Tintin and
I don't
Fun
hear
Boy and
nobody's quoting the
T-Bird.
lines from The Crow Part 2. If I'm mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but Lois Lane herself, Adams, what's her name? I think that was her that played the girl, the woman lead in the
Not
second.
the same woman, but damn if she wasn't her twin.
You don't think that was
No,
Adams
that's not the same chick. It's not the same chick. That chick is a lot older than she is. But at that age, yes, she looks like a damn twin of her.
Yeah, she looked just like it. Now
Yeah.
I know it wasn't the original girl from Part 1.
No.
The older her, because no way, they looked way different.
Stuff,
but she was the same character. I remember that, and that's why the Crow was able to get the paint and all that, because she saw Brandon Lee's character do it and she gave him the paint. The second one I saw in the movie theaters.
I did see the second one with my father.
I didn't like it as much. It was a father and son. It was a father and son topic. And then all the rest are just not even worth talking about. I think that the TV show did better than the third, fourth, fifth movie. Yes, the TV show pretty good too. I thought he was but I think they were still trying to capture the Brandon Lee magic with that actor. Jason Momoa?
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, what can Jason Momoa bring to this? Physically, I mean, like, you're right. It's not going to be finesse, but I think that's the point. I think this Crow is going to be brutal, more brutal. I'm thinking, I'm seeing rock bottoms.
Bit of a rock and roll.
I'm thinking like rock bottoms and suplexes and all kinds of Conan the Barbarian kind of stuff.
That might be badass, dude. He might be like a semi-friendly Jason Voorhees from the side of the good.
I'm imagining like you're in an abandoned building. Is like he's the bad guy he's trying to kill is crawling away. He'll probably burst his hand through the wall, pull out a pipe, and just beat the hell out of him with it. I'm imagining all kinds of stuff you can do with Jason Momoa with that superhuman strength that he'll probably be.
Even the other guy had superhuman. He was bulletproof. I mean, he was unstoppable. I think it's going to be. The more I think about it, the more excited I am of what this could be, the potential of this project. I still stick to my guns, though. This is one of the best action thrillers ever made in all of cinema. The original Crow with Brandon Lee. I love this movie. The soundtrack is so fucking good in this movie. I've got like 3 copies of this on CD. I still listen to this soundtrack. It still holds up.
It's in the top 10 somewhere. You got The Crow, you got Matrix, you got Die Hard, you got probably
all those brilliant action thrillers, man.
All these action classics. If the Crow isn't in the top, if it's not in the top 10, it's at least in the top 20 somewhere as far as all time, because I'm not thinking about all the other action movies right now. As far as the nostalgia, now as far as you're in the top 5 when you talk about well executed movies that had a tragic death, of one of the stars, if not the star themselves. Now that he's probably in the top 3 in that situation. So I mean that's how well that movie was, and like I said, the graphics and that. But we're going off on a tangent on the original Crow.
Yeah,
there's no saying what it could be a complete mess. What like all these other Crows.
Please God, let that not be the case.
They play up Momoa's size, and they have this dude be like a
physicality.
like Brandon Lee was almost like Batman in a way. He would sneak up on you, kind of like mess with you, almost like a mix between Batman, Spider-Man, and Satan. Because it was like that's how he could kind of sneak up on you.
He was a smart ass too. Every time he killed somebody, he was a smart ass. Like he would tell a stupid joke, like when he was like, "You heard me rapping at your door," the pawn store, and then he loads the shotguns. He's like, "Every one of these is a life you helped destroy," and he loads the shotgun with the engagement rings. It's like, oh my God. He's like, and the guy's like, "You go fuck yourself," and he's like, "Is that gasoline I smell?" the dude starts running.
Yeah, but that guy lived. That guy lived though. Yeah.
He got his ass
but I think
up though.
yeah, by the villain. But Jason,
Yeah, the
I
guy
just want to.
sticks him through the throat.
Yeah, I want to see. And it wasn't just Brandon Lee who died. The Yellow Ranger also passed away.
Greeny died. Yeah.
So
yeah.
that movie
in that movie. Oh my god.
The whole thing with Jason Momoa though, I just want to see him just as like a monster coming after.
Now, real quick, what kind of villain are they going to be able to bring to this? Because he's so big and imposing. I don't think I've heard anything. I haven't either. I don't. Now, I'm thinking just like on the first one, just like a whole army of people. That's the only thing. I think the whole city should be under siege, and he's just like cleaning them all up. I mean, I think everybody should be under attack. He's going to have to be with an army because he can't physically compete unless he, like in the original, he took the Crow out, and then he's a man now. But this says. Yeah. The reboot, however, will be reportedly more of a faithful adaptation of the original source material, which was a comic series by James O'Barr, which was supposedly inspired.
It took a lot of liberties on the original Crow. That's the only reason. And the only thing that I heard that the only reason why it was forgiven was because of how well it was executed.
Right.
But as far as a purist who's a Crow comic book fan, there's probably people out there who hate the original Crow because it's not really based on the comic book. So that's probably what's gonna. So if they make this, I've never read the Crow comic book. So
I have not either.
So
but hopefully it's gonna be more towards the comic books.
Yeah. So if that's true, then that means if we see a between this new one and the original, and it's awesome, then I'm gonna have to check that comic book out. I might just check it out anyway before the Momoa movie comes out and just.
When would this not be the perfect time for a movie to stick to a comic book?
The books are more taking.
That's right. This is the right time to do this.
Yeah, you got the right writers, you got the right people, you got the right frame of mind coming in. The directors are bringing real drama, but at the same time, I'll tell you what. And going back again to the original, and then that should help. What they should do with this one, I'll say that the rules that people follow to make these epic comic book movies nowadays, because comic book movies is now a genre on its own right now, and how seriously they're taking it, like since the Dark Knight and the Avengers, the Crow followed those exact same rules on how serious they made that movie and whatnot. I think if it wasn't for Crow, we might not have ever had a Dark Knight, because that had to have been a blueprint.
It was a comic book movie that was phenomenal.
Yeah, that's got to be a blueprint of how to take comic book movies seriously and execute it with perfection. Because I mean, I don't know where they went wrong. I feel like the second one tried to stay on that same.
It just couldn't compete with it. The bar was too high. The mythos surrounding it was too high.
It was like starting with the Dark Knight, with Nolan's The Dark Knight, and then the sequel being Batman and Robin with Schumacher.
And then trying to do the sequel to the sequel. Yeah,
exactly. So it was like that, and that was almost how I felt. So with knowing all of that, going through all these directors,
it's a little scary.
Yeah, it is. And the guy, you heard of the guy that they had before Momoa, right? You heard of what's his name? He was in the Hobbit movies. He was the guy with the big. Did you watch the Hobbit movies?
I watched the first one, and I did not watch the second and the last one. I did not.
I'm trying to remember another movie that he's in. Okay, Dracula Untold. Him.
Okay, yeah.
He was cast to be the Crow.
I'm glad they got rid of him and got Jason Momoa then.
I mean, everybody was excited about him but at the same time, just Jason Momoa brings a presence. It's almost like The Rock. It's almost like what The Rock brings to
a different, more metal Rock.
Because even the Rock couldn't have been cast as for the Crow.
No, maybe the villain. Maybe the villain in the Crow.
As a villain, maybe. Now, hell, you got a villain right there. Could you imagine that? There's your villain. If not the main villain, the sub-main, the
enforcer. Yeah, the enforcer.
The guy that's going out really talking.
Can you imagine a slugfest between The Rock and Jason Momoa as the Crow, the undead?
Even if it wasn't a slugfest, even if it was a gunfight, imagine the character that the Rock played in Faster, not really saying nothing, and just that almost like Jason-like powers coming after you. The Rock. Have you ever seen the Rock in Faster?
No.
Dude, you've got to watch that movie. This week. That's like your homework. If you will appreciate
Faster,
the Rock.
I'll check it out.
It's called Faster. That was during the time was like, can this guy even action? We keep giving him franchises and stuff like that and whatnot. Watching him in Faster, his dialogue was reduced, but his intensity.
What was it?
He was the hero, but he was scary, man. He wasn't even really a hero.
What was the one? Was it the Roundup? When we had to go get William Scott out of the jungle, and those little people, those little jungle people kicked his ass. The fight scenes in the Rock could do fight scenes.
Yeah, they're talking about the sequel to that. But if they the villain is, I could see the Rock being in this. Could big guy versus big guy. But that's the thing.
I think people would be upset. I honestly.
Oh yeah, exactly. But that's why I say don't make him the main villain. Hell, make him the lower level guys. Make him one of the first guys that has.
Yeah, like one of the, 10 or T-Bird or what. That would be cool. I'd be down for that.
The first guy that dies or something. That would be funny as hell.
He's like, yeah. I know that she was sweet.
Or the cop, or one of the cops that helps, or one of the.
He could be the cop.
Or one of the low lives that kind of helped the main people, but didn't the jewelry guy.
You nailed it. The cop. He could be the cop, the good cop. Yeah, that's perfect. You think so? Yeah, that's perfect.
That would be an interesting movie. So and I heard that in this one they're not going to go the whole love story direction yet. It's going to be because to avenge her death, but. And avenge a family member and all that, but I don't think they're gonna go that deep into the love story kind of route. I think they're gonna go straight in just the killing and all that stuff.
I hope they have the coffin scene. That's all I can say. Where he comes out of the ground and pushes that coffin up to the ground. That
resurrection. With the crow tapping on the tombstone, that was creepy, man. The resurrection from the grave part. Could you imagine if they decide to use like special effects where you can kind of see
his
rotted body, and
then he starts. Yeah, that would be fucking awesome.
The more he's exposed to the air up and out from the ground, the more flesh gets filled in. Not filled it in first and then he comes alive. No.
Or every time he kills one of the bad guys.
Then he gets more flesh. That would be awesome. No, we probably just added something that probably wasn't in the original.
Listen to that shit, James O'Barr dudes.
Creepy, like he'd be like a ghoul-like creature.
Like the mummy. Every time he kills one of the people who cursed him or whatever, he becomes more
has to kill human. He gets his body back 100%, and then he's just like a beast.
Beast. Well, that's our thoughts on this, guys.
Yeah. We want to see what you guys think about this. So yeah, fill in the blanks, man. What do you think this movie's going to be about? So
you got a theory? I want to know.
What's your?
Yeah, guys. I think me and Chris are fiery hot on this particular topic. We love the crows. You can see he even has a crow poster in the back, and he's had this shit for years.
Yeah, I've had it like that. Let me hold up Brandon. How was I doing it earlier? Like,
oh yeah. Instead of the Oscar, we'll have the Brandon.
I want Mamoa to get a Brandon for this one.
So, guys, if you have a theory on what you think is going to happen in this, obviously it can't be a spoiler because we don't know, but I want to know what your thoughts on this are. Chris wants to know what your thoughts on this are. Put it in the box below. I want to hear your theories. In the meantime, we are we are getting ever so close to 1,000 subscribers, and after that we're going to open our second channel, and I want to tell you about it, but I can't right now. But in the meantime, keep watching us, guys. We appreciate you sticking with it. Comment, subscribe, keep watching the movies, playing the games, killing the noobs.